All right, so move on to the next segment. I'll be discussing what's going on with the Kansas City Chiefs. Their 0-2 start. Is it time to panic on the Kansas City Chiefs? Honestly, my heart says don't panic because the Chiefs have been a really good franchise and they've weathered the storm several times, being three-time Super Bowl champions since the Mahomes era. But my head is saying panic because the Chiefs do not look good starting off 0-2. The offense looks very bland. I know Rashee Rice is suspended for the first 6 games of action. Your best receiver is not in the lineup, which hurts. That would hurt any team around the National Football League. But you don't get it back. The reality is you don't get it back till week 7. Xavier Worthy is still hurt. The running game looks very bland with Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. There is no way that Patrick Mahomes should be the leading rusher for the Kansas City Chiefs offense in the first 2 weeks of football. And the fact that the Chiefs are already 0-2, the loss against two playoff caliber teams in the Los Angeles Chargers and the Philadelphia Eagles in the Super Bowl rematch. And the next few games are going to be tough. I think that Sunday night game on the road at MetLife against the Giants, that's a 50-50 ball game in my opinion, based on how the Giants played last week against the Cowboys. They got to play at home against the Ravens week 4. Then got to go on the road against the Jags. I think that's a winnable game. But then they got to play the Lions at home, the Raiders at home. The Raiders always play the Chiefs hard. The Commanders at home. They got to go on the road to Buffalo before your bye week. That's a tough slate of games. And the reality is, looking at these games, I think they need to win their next 5 out of 7 games before it's really time to panic about this team. Because if they don't, they're already 0-2. You need to at least snag 5 out of these 7 games, or it's not going to look pretty. Because by the end of week 4, they realistically could start off the season 1-3. And I don't care how good you are, what quarterback you have, what head coach you have. You start off your season 1-3 in the National Football League. That is a hard game of catch-up to play for any caliber team in the National Football League. So, and you also got to count and take into consideration who the Chiefs are going to play down the stretch, who they have to play twice a year in their division. The Chargers already beat them once. That ain't going to be an easy game when they play again. They still got to play the Denver Broncos twice. The Raiders always play the Chiefs hard. So nothing is guaranteed. My heart is just saying I can't panic, but my head is telling me panic on this team because the history speaks for itself. If you start off 0-2 in the NFL, you don't have a good chance of having a successful year in the National Football League. And to my knowledge, the last team that started off 0-2 to win a Super Bowl, I think you got to go all the way back to the New York Giants doing it in 07, 08. And if I'm wrong about that, I apologize, but that's my point. It's very important to avoid an 0-2 start for any team in the National Football League because it's hard to recover from. It's hard to go on a winning streak in the National Football League. It's hard to play at your best every week on the National Football League level. So I think they got to get it together here. Could the Chiefs trade for NFL wide receiver? If they start off 1-3, if they start off 1-3, let's just say they beat the Giants Sunday night in MetLife, then they play the Ravens at home. I would say they should make a call to the Miami Dolphins to make a reunion happen and get Tyreek Hill back with the Kansas City Chiefs if they start off 1-3, because at that point you're going to have to hit the panic button mode. 1-3, that shows that nothing's working in your favor, and you're playing in a very tough division in the AFC West. Outside of Rashee Rice, that you're going to have to wait until week 7 to get back, and Xavier Worthy still recover from that shoulder injury, I just don't trust this wide receiver room. Right now, that consists of Hollywood Brown. You already seen the best days behind him when he played with the Ravens or the Cardinals. I don't think he's that stud anymore at the receiver position. Juju Smith's best days are behind him as well. These are serviceable veterans, but they're not somebody that can create separation against cornerbacks on a weekly basis and be good enough to win you a good slate of ball games after starting off 0-2. Travis Kelce is still there, but I think he's starting to decline a bit. You could see that in his game last year. I mean, he had a lot of garbage stats. I think he had nearly 1,000 yards receiving, or might have had a little over 1,000 yards receiving, but you could tell that he was not the same productive wide or tight end last year in that Kansas City Chiefs offense. So I think if you start off 1-3, making the call to Tyreek Hill, You get Tyreek Hill back in KC, you can have an offense that consists of Tyreek Hill, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and if you get the running game going with your 1-2 punches, Isaiah Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, that could get them going offensively again. But there's been a spark that's been missing for them offensively. Even though they went 15-2 last year, even though they went back to the Super Bowl last year. If you guys remember, they won a lot of one-score ball games, and they relied on the defense to bail them out on a lot of games that they won last year, despite going 15-2 and getting all the way back to the Super Bowl. This offense has really lost its touch, its flavor, and its magic for quite some time now. So, again, if they start off 1-3, I think you got to make the call to Tyreek Hill and the Miami Dolphins. A Miami Dolphins team that might be down and out and have a similar record to you by that time. They might be 0-4. They might be 1-3. I think this is a perfect time to reach out. If you can't get Tyreek Hill, reach out to anybody that could put a wide receiver up for grabs before the NFL trade deadline to save the season or what could possibly be in store for the Kansas City Chiefs. But those are my thoughts on the Kansas City Chiefs starting off their season 0-2.